the four-year medical doctor degree from IUHS, and you're going to hear more about the program and the institute and from insights from alumni and students in the next 45 minutes or so. We'll try to make it as engaging and interactive as possible. We have some options available for you already to do that. For example, through the chat, you can tell us where you're logging in from, just for us to see the variety of people that are logging in from different countries, hopefully. And second of all, of course, importantly, is the part of questions. If you have any questions, please write them through the panel next to it, questions, and we'll be answering the questions at the end. Also, I'll be opening up a couple of polling questions. So we actually have one already open. If you're currently a healthcare professional, thanks to let us know. And I'll be opening up a couple of more polling questions throughout the session. And last but not least, we have a little fun button, so to say, as well, just to make it more fun and interactive. It's at the bottom of the screen. You see a button called React. If you click on that, you can give the reaction of your choice. Exactly. That's just nice for us all to know if you like something you hear, or just to make it more interactive and fun for the presenters as well. So let's go over to them. Without further ado, we go over to Wendy Kolanovic, and she will introduce herself and the rest of the panelists. So good luck. Take it away.
Hi guys, nice to see you all. Thank you for joining us. I'm Wendy, I'm the Marketing Director at IUHS. I have the pleasure of spending the next hour with you just to go through our MD program. I'm joined by our panel of speakers. So starting at the top, we have Mona. She is a current student. We have also Amir. He is another current student. Abhinav, who has just recently completed the program, and John, who has graduated a couple of years ago and is a resident at the moment. So again, thank you all for joining us, and I might just hand it over to our speakers to introduce themselves. Mona, why don't you start at the top and tell us about yourself?
Everyone, my name is Mona. I'm a Block 4 student here at IUHS. I'm a 9-to-5 nurse. I work 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. So IUHS it's been very flexible for me, and so far it's been an amazing opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you. Amir, do you want to continue?
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Amir. I'm a third-year medical student from Toronto. I completed my undergrad at Queen's University, and then thereafter began with IUHS. Currently, I'm on my third year, so I'm completing my rotations in Chicago. I completed psychiatry, and now I'm on pediatrics.
Thank you. Abhinav.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Abhinav from California. I recently completed my IUHS medical degree just like a month ago, and then I merged into neurology. So I'm excited to start my journey, and I'm very thankful for IUHS giving me an opportunity to do what I really, really want to do from the very beginning. And I'm looking forward to chat with you guys.
Thank you. John.
Hi, how's everybody doing? I'm John Price from Ohio. I was a physician assistant before, and I worked full-time as a physician assistant as I went through IUHS. As I said, I graduated a couple of years ago. I'm currently in residency and family practice, which is where I matched into, and it was my first choice. I got my first location, so I was happy about that. Similar to Abhinav, I didn't have to move from my hometown, and I did all my rotations in like Chicago and Scottsdale, and I actually set a lot of my rotations up with IUHS, which really helped out a lot. So that's me.
Thank you. Okay, well, we'll just move along, and thanks for the introductions. We'll just give an overview about IUHS for anyone that hasn't learnt too much about our university. We have a campus on the island of St. Kitts in the Caribbean. It is a small study centre. You can attend it if you wish. However, there is no requirement to actually study there, as the preclinical years of our MD program are studied virtually from home. We're a non-traditional medical school, so as opposed to a traditional bricks and mortar college, there's no campus that you need to attend in person. For this reason, IUHS is a lot more affordable, accessible, especially if you're in a remote area. You don't need to travel daily to a campus or even relocate and move. So just to overview, how does that actually work? So the first 2 years of a 4-year degree, the preclinical sciences, you study them from home. We deliver live lectures with top-tier professors via our distributed online campus system, our virtual university, so to speak. And we have a lot of other technology and learning applications that you use as you go through to learn the program. And after that, then you spend the last 2 years in a hospital setting, in a clinical environment, learning the skills there before you head into your residency. So from that experience, you'll hear a lot more about in more detail from our speakers. Right now, I just want to focus on letting you know a few other key things about our school. We are a global university, so we have students located on all corners of the globe. The majority of them you'll find in the United States, Canada, and Australia. A very nice growing group of Australians, actually, I have to say. We have staff, a dedicated Australian staff member for that group. We have our administrative office in Canada. A lot of our teaching staff and some administrative staff are in the United States, and myself, along with another colleague, are in Europe. And that being the global nature of our university, you also need to know that we have accreditation from the St. Kitts and Nevis government. We are appropriately accredited by the World Directory of Medical Schools. We're listed there, as all medical schools should be. We do have the intention to complete, and we're in the process of completing, a second accreditation, which is really important for anyone who is going down the path of researching medical schools. You have to have a look as the IMG at where you like to practice, and that your school is appropriately listed in the World Directory, which we are. This is a topic you might want to just research a little bit more at your own leisure, or send us some emails later if you're unsure. So as I said, we have a small campus on St. Kitts. You'll see a couple of photos there, but as we said, no requirement to go there. The unique opportunity of IUHS is to be able to study most of your degree in your home and in your own community. So what we'll be talking about today is the degrees that we issue, in particular the Doctor of Medicine, the MD degree. It's designed to be a 4-year degree. You do have the option to extend that to 5 years. For those students who don't have this prerequisites or cannot fulfill the requirements to enter the MD program, so they may not have studied at the undergraduate level the sciences, we do offer the Bachelor of Science to MD, which is a 5-year pathway, and that gives people, even as a high school leaver, the opportunity to have a path into medicine. So we do offer that degree as well. Here, I just wanted to turn over to our speakers and ask you all, maybe we'll just start at the top again with you, Mona. Why did you ultimately choose IUHS? As you were researching, you obviously came across a lot of information, a lot of other schools. I'd like to hear from you now.
Thank you, Wendy. So when researching medical schools, IUHS stood out for me amongst all other schools, even US schools, because as I mentioned, being a healthcare professional, working 40 hours a week, I didn't want to have to uproot my life, quit my job. I had people that I care for, so it would have been very difficult for me to try to fit into a traditional either state-based school or other Caribbean schools that require you to travel to another country and leave home. So IUHS's remote preclinical curriculum, really, that was a game changer for me. And also the flexibility, not only in the curriculum, but also in even payment plans, tuition, that also worked perfectly for me, where I didn't have to worry about taking out hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans that you traditionally have to with U.S. medical schools and other Caribbean schools. So yeah, IUHS was just the perfect option for me.
Thank you. We'll continue down the line. Amir, why did you choose IUHS?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think ultimately the factor which sold it for me, I mean, obviously the factors I'm going to mention are definitely influential in pushing me towards IUHS. The convenience is very important. The financial advantage is very important. But ultimately, the reason why I decided to go with IUHS is because I knew of physicians in real life who went, down the pathway with IUHS, and they also became practicing physicians in Toronto. So I think a family friend that actually introduced me to IUHS, she's a general surgeon in Toronto, and she spoke very highly of it. And I think that's what ultimately gave me confidence to go with IUHS.
Amazing. Abhinav, next up.
Yeah, so along the same lines, what Mona said, flexibility was one of the most important factors for me while I was considering medical school, because I was working full time as a physical therapist in neuro rehab. So I really wanted to be a neurologist while working as a therapist with neuro rehab. And I researched a lot of medical school. I'm like, okay, US medical school, I have to wait for years to get in, like take all these tests and go back to another like school, and the whole journey start all over again. So while researching IUHS, my main thing, I was looking for the accreditation, because in 2020, when I started IUHS, California approved like medical schools who are listed in the World Directory of Medical Schools to attain California license. So I actually called California Medical Board and I asked them like, hey, can you look into this school and tell me if I go to this school, will I be approved to like obtain a medical license in California? And they did looked into IUHS website, they looked into World Directory of Medical School, and they said like, yes, go ahead, this school is approved by California Medical Board. So yeah, that was my story.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that is important. As I mentioned just on the previous slide, accreditation, where you want to go in your medical degree, where you want to practice, super important to know where you're going. But as you mentioned, we have the appropriate listing in the World Directory, and that makes all the difference. John, what made you ultimately choose IUHS?
Same reasons, basically, as everyone else has said. The financial standpoint, as far as it was much cheaper than many of the other schools. The flexibility that I could do it continuing my full-time job, as well as not having to uproot my entire family to move somewhere and start over and do something again. Even though there are a lot of medical schools around me, even though they're close to my house, or some of them are a little bit flexible, but none of them had even close to the flexibility that I got with IUHS, being able to study on my own time, using the curriculum, and get the MD degree. So.
Thank you. Thanks for that. So I think we'll that's amazing, and we'll go through a lot of these points and reaffirm them as we go through the slides. And just as we move through, I want to start discussing the academics and the curriculum. We've all been discussing the flexibility. It was a huge talking point and selling point, and the affordability of our school. Another thing that was really important that people might not know about IUHS is our professors, our faculty. They're all teaching at other top tier universities. So you're actually getting the same education that somebody else is getting at another college in the US. So that's actually a really high standard that we keep for anyone that we are employing at our schools. So that's something that I think translates, and maybe some of our students can add to about. But when we're comparing some of these things about going to a traditional school and choosing IUHS, which is non-traditional for all these amazing reasons, how does that this online clinical, preclinical environment, how does that compare to a in-person medical school? Like, what are the differences? Like, you've all talked about this flexibility. Maybe this is how you can sort of describe it by comparing it to a traditional school. Can someone jump in and answer? Maybe Mona or Amir, you're in the program now.
Yes, I'll jump in. So in a traditional school, especially here in the States, from what I've heard from peers as well, is that when there's class or any sort of lectures, it's mandatory. So therefore, if you're a healthcare professional or just anyone who works a full-time job, you really will have to quit your job essentially, because it's not guaranteed that those classes are going to happen after your work hours. But with IUHS's curriculum, even if you aren't able to attend live lectures, the recordings are always there for you. So you really can create your day based on what you have to do for your work, and then you can choose. You have that autonomy to choose when I'm going to watch those lectures and everything. And professors are always available for you during the lectures, after lectures, through email. There's a lot of support. So it's definitely an amazing and unique experience.
Thank you. Yeah, it really does help to be able to, as you'll see, work, not get into debt, and continue studying, as opposed to a traditional school where you have to take out huge loans, as we said. And this is a flexible pace. As we said, you don't need to, attendance isn't marked. You don't need to go specifically to the live lecture. If you miss it, you can catch up on the recording in our online campus system at a time convenient to you. So back to this technology, how do we just deliver this university and all of this learning to you? Basically, you can study anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet and a laptop with you. So it's really a super flexible option. And with that, we were recognized, and we were so honored to be 2 years ago at an international level and received an award for the 27 years of distributed learning that we are pioneered, basically. We were one of the first to be a truly global university using technology to deliver education, in the fact that we don't invest in huge buildings. We're investing in technology, we invest in our teaching staff, and making it easier for more people to study and become doctors. So some of this technology, I think probably, like maybe Amir, you could maybe talk about, or Mona, jump in here and tell us a little bit about some of the technologies that we learn from, for example, Lectorio or DXR Clinician. Maybe you want to give guys a bit of an insight as to what you use to learn.
Okay, so I'll chime in on Lectorio because I'm using that a lot right now. So Lectorio is very helpful because it's a very comprehensive platform, like, for example, Ambus. But I think the advantage that Lectorio has is that it has very thorough videos for every step of the medical pathway. So right now that I'm in third year and I was beginning so for example, when I was beginning my first rotation, I was very anxious, I was very stressed. But then I went to Lectorio and I realized there's an entire playlist of everything I need to know about the psychiatry rotation, from patient interactions to history taking to what are the top medical conditions I have to be well versed with. So, and that's the case with every single rotation. So right now I'm in pediatrics. I think there's over 10 hours of videos provided on the Lectorio platform that gives me a very thorough outline of what to do to prepare. So for well-child visits, what I have to do, how do I have to interact with the parents, with the baby, et cetera. So I don't feel stressed anymore, to be honest, because I know based on experience with my psychiatry that if I just go through these resources provided by IUHS, I will be prepared enough to perform very well on my rotations.
Oh, amazing. Thanks, Amir. Basically, yeah, that's a huge video resource that we incorporate into our online campus. And we also have DXR Clinician, which is a virtual patient simulation software. So I don't know if anyone wants to talk about the experience with that, but there are assessments based on that. Mona, do you want to chime in, or Abhinav, you might have used it?
Yeah, I'll chime in on DXR. So as you mentioned, Wendy, it's a virtual patient simulation tool that it really helps us to develop our clinical reasoning skills. And so in this tool, we're able to practice taking patient histories, ordering tests, diagnosing conditions, all in a simulated environment. And that really bridges the gap between what we learn in lectures, and it gives it real life application. So it just makes it more thorough, and it makes the education very interactive for us.
Yeah, that really prepares you for that clinical phase, I think, as well. So we've been talking about being virtual and online and remote and all of these concepts that, you know, people are probably starting to ask questions. How do you do an exam or an assessment in this type of a virtual setting where you're not?
So, just DXR real quick.
Yeah, of course, John. Yeah, join in.
The DXR, because I'm in residency, and you have to take the step 3 or the complex 3, depending. But we would take the step 3, and day 2 of that, a lot of the test is like a clinical simulator, which is basically what DXR is. So when I was studying for day 2 of the step 3, the using like CCS cases, DXR is very similar. Like I was like, oh, I've seen a lot of this before when I was doing DXR at IUHS, and it made me more comfortable going into it. It does make it more comfortable to like kind of see the background of things and how to order certain tests, patient interaction, like what physical exam things that you need to do. But it's also preparing you for the step 3. And if like most people aren't even thinking about that right now, but it's nice to have that as a background going into that, because it's very familiar. Having to do that in the school just prepares you even more for passing your exams.
Absolutely. That's great to hear about that real world application, and how it all translates, and that knowledge that's built up over time and how you can apply it in the real setting. But yeah, I was going to ask, which is a real question that a lot of people ask us, is how do you do a test? How do you do exams and assessments in this virtual and remote setting? So maybe someone could enlighten everyone about how you do those in the preclinical years in a virtual setting, and maybe touch on what live proctoring is, because you know, you'd all probably have been exposed to exam proctoring. Anyone? Abhinav, maybe you've done some final exams now. You might have been proctored recently. Do you want to join in?
So with IUHS, we have a live proctor system. We book our exam using an online platform. Again, flexibility comes even during the exam time because we book it at our own time when it's good for me. I remember I was in Pacific time, and I would select like a time that's like early in the morning, which might be late for live proctor who might be in the East Coast. But that never has been an issue for me. I was able to secure a time whenever I wanted it. And then the live proctoring is like there is a another live real human sitting in on the other side of the country somewhere, and then supervising you all the time. We usually have them like scan the whole room, the surroundings around me using my laptop, using the camera and everything, and then they do the ID verification by using the driver's license or passport or any type of ID. So it's all legit. And then they will the exit exams are like 8-9 hours long, and then they are with you all that 8-9 hours of duration. So it's not like they will start with you and then they disappear. No, they are there all the time with you. And then during the exam, if you need any technical assistance or anything, I remember I have called Moeed Mirza a couple of times during the exam for any technical assistance or anything. So it's like a fully supportive environment. You don't have to worry, but I'm taking the exam online. Something technical can happen. Who do I reach out to? There is always somebody in there to assist you.
Yeah, that's important. There is someone there, and it is a system that you know, people you know, you're monitored, and you are, you know, basically not cutting corners, so to speak, but it is done all virtually, and there's no need to enter or go attend a testing center or anything like that in person. At the end of each block, which we'll see on the next slide, there is a test, and then there are tests in between that to build on your knowledge and expose to areas that might be areas of weakness that you need to work on. So throughout this whole process, you're regularly tested, and it's all done via a proctoring system. We're looking here at what this preclinical program looks like. It's devised as a systems-based curriculum. I just want to mention that, and I'll get you guys to talk about it. Each one of our blocks has an academic advisor who is an MD who can support the work that the professor does, and also there is the student support team and a tech support team, as mentioned. Always contactable, text message, phone, email, all the time, because people are writing tests on weekends or studying or doing things at all sorts of hours, all sorts of time zones, being that we're a global university. Just maybe Mona or Amir, you're the most recent guys in the block phase of the program. How have you seen that the block advisors or your professors have been helping you and guiding you through the preclinical curriculum?
I can begin just mentioning in regards to professors, the theme has been flexibility. And once again, during lectures, the professors are always, they're not just talking at you, like they're actually making sure that you're understanding the material. They give a lot of space to pause and do you have any questions? And they encourage you, even if you're watching the recording, like they tell you, this is my email, please reach out if you need anything, or if you need advice on how to study the material, something's not sticking. And also other faculty members, you mentioned tech support even, Wendy, that's a major thing. Like when taking exams, we're using technology. Technology is a major part of our education here. So if there is any issues with that, there's always someone available, and they answer very quickly. If you're taking an exam and there's something wrong or you need assistance with anything at all, they're available for you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's important to know. We really want to make sure that everyone understands that though you're working remotely, and maybe Amir, you can jump in, or Abhinav, or John, it doesn't matter. That support while you're in the preclinical phase, you're not alone. You do have people to help you. You have these question and concept sessions. Maybe someone wants to just discuss what is that about. So it is interactive, and you're not just being spoken at. Maybe you can just add a bit to that for me, somebody.
Yeah, honestly, when you brought it up, I was like, please don't ask me, because I don't remember how it was during the blocks. But then I started to think about, okay, how was it? How were the lectures? And I remember specifically I forgot their names because I'm horrible with names. Our pharmacology and microbiology professors, those lectures used to be very interactive, to the point where I actually looked towards the lectures from that aspect. I'm like, hey, I want to see, because we would have our inside conversation, inside jokes with the professors. And it was very lively. It was very enjoyable. And even until now, I still remember some of the sayings they had, especially my microbiology lectures. And it was very good, because just like Mona said, they're not speaking to you, they're speaking with you. Like, it's a conversation. It's not like a very bland, like a YouTube video. They just click play, you doze off halfway in between, you put on 1.25 speed, and then you don't retain any information. It's a very interactive conversation. And if you have any questions, I remember I reached out to, again, my pharmacology was very weak. So I reached out to her plenty of times, and she was always very accessible. So that was always very nice. And I didn't have any issues with the lectures being an online format at all whatsoever.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really nice to hear. And I think that's also testament to the smaller class sizes that we have. Not taking in thousands of students a year makes also the difference as well. So we've discussed the preclinical phase. The final 2 years are probably the more interesting 2 years to most students, I think, is to head into the hospital and put all of that classroom learning into practice. The program is divided into 48 weeks of core rotations, which are mandatory, and then you follow up with 32 weeks of electives that are of your choice. So we'll refer to these as clinical rotations. generally speaking. And I'm going to call on you again, Amir. How did you secure the clinical rotations? And sort of what support do you get from IUHS in arranging those, since you're the latest person to arrange them?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I was given many options because thankfully IUHS has many sites throughout America in several states. So I had the luxury of, sitting down and thinking to myself, where do I want to live for the next 2 years? So there were several sites that was communicated to us that, we have sites over here, over here, over here, over here. And honestly, I didn't feel limited at all whatsoever. And now that I am in Chicago, I'm very grateful that I chose Chicago. It's a very enjoyable place, despite what you might hear, but it's very enjoyable. It's very safe. And it's been very good. So right now in my rotations in pediatrics, I'm with several other students from Caribbean medical schools. I don't want to name drop. I don't know if I should or what, but I'm with different students. And when I'm interacting with them, I'm seeing that I'm not less capable or less competent than them because I attended IUHS, an online platform medical school for the first 2 years. In fact, I think I'm the only student from IUHS at from a Caribbean medical school at my rotation site that has even taken the step one. A lot of them are very clueless about step one. They're very underprepared during the rotations. I'm not saying every single medical student is like this from the Caribbeans, but I don't see myself as being inferior to them on my current rotation, despite a lot of them having hundreds of thousands of loans to accompany them into the third year of medical school. So it's going very well.
Yeah, amazing. That's a really nice relief, isn't it, to be able to know that you're going to be competent, prepared, because I think that was going to be my next question. Do you feel prepared for clinical rotations after finishing the preclinical phase, considering that you were remote and you were online? Maybe even Abhinav, you can even join in and say, you've completed all of the rotations now, so how did you feel in terms of that transition over from preclinical to clinical phase?
Sure. So I'll answer the first part of the question as well a little bit, because when my time came after step one to do the rotation, I was a little stingy about staying in California. And considering that California changed their regulation in 2020, IUHS did not have any sites in California at the time when I was going to start my rotations. But luckily and fortunately, IUHS was very open to sign the contract with multiple sites. So when I was about to start, there was a 0 site, and then when I ended, there were now 8 different sites in California. So that just not opened the door for me, but for future IUHS students as well who are from California or who wants to come to California to do their rotations. So IUHS was very supportive during securing all the new affiliations, because California has some different rules that other state does not. They need much more paperwork from IUHS, many more insurances and a lot of other stuff. But all in all, IUHS was very supportive. Clark was very helpful during all this process. He did his due diligence. He provided them all the necessary paperwork which was required for me to start on time. And I don't remember any rotation that was delayed because this thing was not in place by IUHS or anything. I was able to start everything on time. And then the second question about preparation, I felt pretty prepared. Not even a single day of my 2-year rotation time, I felt like, oh, I went to an online school, so I didn't know this, versus a US MD and DOs who were my interns, and I was like, oh, they know more than me. There wasn't a single day like that. So yeah, overall, I felt pretty prepared.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's we were referring to our clinical director, Clark, who works with setting up placements for most of the students in the US, always available to make those arrangements for you if they're not there. But we do have a lot of affiliations already in place. And then we actually also have, for our growing Australian community of students, a clinical director there as well who assists with their placements too. So not just the North Americans that have the support behind them. But just back onto rotations, it's, as I said, really exciting. What does a day look like? What does a week look like? And also, I'm actually going to add, Amir is a student ambassador. He's actually documenting his journey for us and making videos about his time on rotations, and they're all on YouTube, and we have one every 2 weeks come up. So be sure to head to our YouTube as well and subscribe and follow along to watch his journey through the rotations. But just here quickly, what is it like? Is it scary? I know there was some first day jitters and things like that, but just, share what is it like on rotations?
Yeah, I think that was directed at me. I hope so.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay, I'll answer a little bit. I think imposter syndrome is an inevitable part of the medical student experience. I've heard it doesn't even end in residency or even when you're a doctor. I hope that's not the case because it's so stressful. So I had a lot of imposter syndrome going into it for different reasons. But I think over time, I realized that if I want to be competent, that's entirely up to me. If I am going to be not competent at a certain area, that's going to be entirely up to me and what I put into my craft, which is medical school and medical knowledge. So, which is why I think one thing that I'm doing a lot is that I think my day in the life is quite an overkill, because I'm making flashcards every single day, custom made. I'm doing my question bank questions every single day. As soon as they're done, I'm spending a few days redoing my incorrects again, once again. And then after I'm done my UWorld questions, for example, I do MBME questions, and then I do 3 days of doing my incorrects again once over. And so my day in the life is quite busy. I wake up in the morning, I go to the clinic or the hospital. Usually it's from 9 to 6, but it depends on the rotation. Sometimes it's in the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for internal medicine, for example. But after I get off work, I usually come home, I binge watch a show to make myself feel a little bit better. And then at the nighttime, I usually just do questions and I make flashcards. And I try to forget about my day and I kind of repeat it the next day afterwards.
Yeah, it is pretty intense. It is pretty long, but I think that was important to note, that you have to keep studying and keep reviewing and keep up on your work. Anyone else want to add anything, Abhinav?
Well, a little bit. So I forgot to mention that I was lucky enough to go to UCSF as well to do my rotation. So at UCSF, I was the only IMG. And I think because I was local in California, so they accepted me. But on the orientation day, they told us like, oh, we get about 1,500 applications for the 4th year rotations, and we only have room for 150 candidates. So again, it proved that going to online school versus the US MDs or DO school, it doesn't really matter. Maybe it did to some extent, but I was still able to get my rotation of my top choice there. I enjoyed my time there. And then my other rotation in 4th year at a different site, I was actually the lead for the whole rotation, the other students. And there were 8 of us, and 3 of us were 4th year and the other were 3rd year. So I was the lead for like fixing, like telling them to go home now and like what time to come tomorrow, and then which rotating student supposed to go with the 4th year resident or with the fellows. And also again, that speaks about no one will discriminate during the rotations because you went to online school versus you are a US MDs and DOs. During my rotation time, most of the places I was the only IMG. Everybody else was US MDs or DOs and mostly from UC Davis and some other local California medical schools. So.
Amazing. That's it's good to hear that the playing field evens out as you get there. John, I want to ask you, the clinical rotations, do you feel that they prepared you for residency? Like, how do they prepare you for residency in that sort of real world setting?
Yes, I feel like they totally, I mean, you never feel prepared going in, for sure. Kind of that imposter syndrome feeling. But once you get there, you realize that everyone is on the same page as you, and the flexibility of having, being able to set your own rotations up. Yes, it's awesome. There are a bunch of rotations for IUHS, but there weren't a ton in Ohio. And so being able to know different physicians and know different hospitals and be able to kind of tailor my my clinical rotations worked out great, because by being able to apply to the schools that I did my rotations at, I mean, to the residencies where I did my rotations, they already knew who I was, and they knew what kind of a student I was, and they were all willing to take me on in the match process. So not only did it prepare me by being able to do the rotations at the place I wanted to do a residency in the first place, was probably a leg up. It let them get face to face. It let them see my work ethic. It let me see that I was on par with everyone else, and I think it greatly benefited me.
Yeah, I think you touched on something amazing there that we didn't quite touch on before. The other part of the flexibility is that the rotations, should you not be able to attend one of our established affiliated sites, you are able to work with the clinical director to arrange your own, as you did in Ohio. Might be a little bit of extra work for yourself, but as you said, you had an end goal and it made sense. For some people who are already working in a hospital system, they may already want to take advantage of that relationship that they have in that hospital and streamline the process for themselves, and work with our clinical director to already have their rotations in that hospital. So again, a lot of universities won't accommodate those things, but we work very hard to accommodate everyone's situation. So just to the next slide, where we have, just to recap about our sites for clinical rotations. We do have a few states here listed as our affiliations in the United States. Illinois is highlighted there because Chicago, Illinois is our primary site where you can complete all of your clinical rotations in the US, as Amir is currently doing now. We do, as I mentioned before, have a clinical director for Australia for that group of students who are growing there, have a dedicated staff member. We can arrange rotations for you in Canada. And if you come from another country, again, we'll work best with you. We have graduates in over 19 countries in the world where we've helped people find their rotations in countries where we don't normally have students. So a little bit more about the flexibility of IUHS there. Importantly, what happens after you finish at IUHS, after you finish the rotations, after you've sat your final exam? This is where we can get a lot of expertise from Abhinav and John about you enter in. We're going to discuss the US system here, so the National Resident Matching Program. This month, or just last month in March, was when people were offered their residency placements. Amazing for IUHS is that all of our students that entered the match secured a residency position. I've listed there some of the specialties that they went into. Abhinav was lucky enough to get his first choice for neurology. And family medicine is a very popular choice with a lot of our students. They aim to go into family medicine. We do have graduates in the last recent months that have also secured their residency or their internship in Canada and Australia. But fun little fact for you there are only about 50 or 60% of all IMGs in the USA match actually secure a residency. So it really speaks volumes of our students who work really hard, prove themselves to be very competent in their rotations and in their applications, and secure their residency. So on saying that, I'd like to ask Abhinav, maybe you can talk about your experience during this process. You just went through it. It's all nice and fresh. Tell us what happened. How did you go through it?
Yeah, sure. So that process in September, but the preparation starts like in July. It's I would say it's a painful and a fun process, because you know you are going into residency. You are going to achieve what you hoped for before even entering the medical school. Most of us know what we want to do. And this is the time to show off your talent and show off what all you have done so far and what your intentions are while writing the personal statement or doing your CV on ERAS. And during this whole process, IUHS well supported me. I remember I received an email from Dr. Mary, like, hey, share your personal statement with us once you are done, so we can help you to, to polish it more. Because one thing everybody must remember, that in the match, when we enter the match, we are not just competing with the US MDs or DOs, not just with the Caribbean medical schools, we are competing with the rest of the world. So it's like you versus students from rest, medical graduates from rest of the world. There could be a student from Australia, New Zealand, or Asian countries or Middle East. The students participate from all over the world. And as Wendy mentioned in the slide, the IMG rate of acceptance, I think this year 2025 match was 57%. So that means the rest of them will just will unfortunately will not match. So I was fortunate and thankful to God that I matched. It's definitely a competitive, very, very super competitive. And then, so in September, match opens, and then we submit our application. And at end of September, there is a day. And then after that, we just eagerly wait for interviews. Once you start getting interviews, the interview season runs from October to January. I got total 14 interviews, including one or two. Most of them were neurology. And then, so I applied, personally, I applied to, I really, really wanted neuro. So I applied to neurology, neurosurgery, and internal medicine prelim year. I applied to only 8 internal medicine program. I got 2 interviews. And then I got 3 neurosurgery interviews, which I was surprised. And then rest of them were neurology. Most of, and then I got interviews from all the sites where I did my 4th year surveys or elective rotations. And there wasn't a single site where, there was not even a single site where I went during my 4th year and they did not give me an interview. So I was fortunate and thankful to them that I got an interview. And then the interview process, I remember Dr. Mary reached out to me asking me like if I need any help from school to help me to prepare for the interviews. Like they were ready to offer me a mock interview with them to help me prepare. So I was thankful to them for that, to like asking me and supporting me during the match process, because it's definitely like a nerve-wracking process, because you are worried like, what if I don't get enough interviews? What if I don't match? Then you are wasting the whole year. So but I felt pretty supportive and I felt good during the whole process. And then usually in January, the interviews end. And then February is the time when we start doing our rank order list, like out of all the 11 or 15 interviews, which places you want to go number 1. And then you rank them in the order how you want to during the match. And then this year on March 17 was the match day, like when we get the email whether we are matched or not. And then 5 days after, on March 21st on this year, was when we find out like where we matched and all those things. But during this whole process, for those who did not match the first day, like there is something called as the SOAP process, where you get a second chance to still secure a residency spot for the unfilled positions. So those are mostly, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what I heard. Those are mostly the SOAP unfilled spot mostly goes to US DOs and MDs, because they try to offer as many spots to US MDs and DOs, but that doesn't mean the IMGs don't get in the door. So that's the whole match process. It's a fun process, but again, it's a scary process, because it's literally deciding your rest of the career, rest of the future. So, but I'm happy that it's all done. And
Yeah, Abhinav had a keen passion for neurology. He knew he wanted to be there, and he did a lot of extracurricular work with the American Neurology Association as a student. And he shone. It was a star in his rotations, and I think that made a difference. Which is, John, your experience as well. So, how did you find the experience, and how did IUHS support you?
I think Abhinav put it nicely. Like everything that he said they did the exact same thing for me. IUHS, Dr. Mary went over my my letter, my personal statement. He went over if I wanted to do a mock interview. IUHS made sure that I understood like the timetable and when I had to have everything in, and to talk to the different places and how it worked, and made sure I did my research for as far as the program. My program that I'm in only like takes 8 to 9 people per year. It's pretty small. And in my year, I was like the only person, I was the only IMG in the class, and then half of them matched and the other half soaped, and I was one of the ones that matched. So I thought, I mean, that is, I think, shows that you don't have to worry if you put the work in and do all the things that you're supposed to do and follow the advice that's given to you and take the help that's offered by your IUHS. I think anyone can be successful.
Amazing advice and nice encouragement. Well, I want to move across after that discussion about what happens after is move over to the next slide and just go through a little bit of what's it like as a student at IUHS, just the overall experience. Some things that might be hard when you're working remotely is how to stay motivated. Maybe Mona, you could share with us, how do you keep your energy up and your motivation up?
Well, I will say that discipline is key in this program. It's although it's a unique approach being remote for the preclinical years, it's still just as rigorous and demanding as a traditional medical school that you would find. So for me, one thing that's really helped was connecting with the student body. And you would think that having remote preclinicals would make it difficult to connect with fellow students, but that's actually not the case. I feel so connected to my class. We talk every week, and almost after every class as well. If we have questions, we speak with each other over WhatsApp, and there's a lot of different groups where you can find support amongst other students who are going through it and encourage each other. And that's been very motivating, especially during exam time. We're all stressed, or, just to hear that someone else in your class is also going through the same thing and we support each other through that. It's been extremely motivating for me.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see some of the friendships evolve despite the distances. We have, students that end up living together for clinical rotations and, moving to various places and end up being lifelong friends. So it is quite nice to have that smaller university and that smaller family community. And during the time, I think we've touched on it a bit before, your professors and academic advisors are always available for you as well. So part of your student life would be to connect with them and stay in touch. And I believe we, at this time during the preclinical year, some of our students are even active in student associations. So there's other ways to connect. Is that right, Mona? I think you're a bit of an expert on this.
Yes, I'm a part of 2 student associations. One of them is AMSA, and the other one I actually created myself, a surgical interest group for those of us who are perhaps interested in surgical residencies. And it's been great. It's once again just been amazing to connect with other students outside of class, and really from all over the world as well. I have a student who's all the way in Australia and I'm in New York. So, but it's like we become best friends and we support each other regardless. So it's a very unique experience here at IUHS.
Yeah, that is beautiful to hear. And also that connection between alumni and students. I think some of the groups that you're in help connect up and have you hear from alumni as well, which is nice and motivating to keep you guys all on track. Does anyone, maybe John or Abhinav, do you have some advice you want to give anyone considering applying to IUHS?
I'm not sure exactly what type of advice you're looking for. I actually pushed off my start date 6 months to IUHS because I wanted to save more money. And that way I could pay for medical school as I went through. So I had a big down payment to pay, and then I worked for the first 2 years full time, and allowing me to continue to pay on medical school. So by the time I was done with IUHS, I pretty much had my entire medical school paid, which is like unheard of for a lot of any of my compatriots. They're all many hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So having a financial plan, time management, having an idea, like thinking ahead of what you want to do. So as you apply, like thinking where you want to be, where you want to do your clinicals, where you want to do residency, and then but make sure you definitely take the time to study and pass all those exams as you go, and absorb as much information and knowledge as you can. And yeah, just think about the flexibility and what you need in your life at the time, as far as which IUHS offers the financial flexibility, the lifestyle flexibility, different ways to study. So.
Yeah, thank you for touching on that. The financial advice is really sound and important, and it's a fraction of the cost of other private medical schools, and being able to pay monthly is certainly important. Just wanted to continue on here just to let you all know about the global aspect of our school and what happens when you're an alumni and where IUHS alumni are in the world. So, you know, they're practicing in 18 countries worldwide. As we said, most of them are in the US, India, Canada, Australia, and a few other countries like the UK, Asia, and Africa. We have doctors in 25 states of the United States. Some of the specialties that they've gone into are listed there. Family medicine is a popular one for our students. However, not all of our students use their MD to go into clinical practice, and a lot of them use the flexibility of our program to pursue a career in another path. So some of them are holding C-level positions in hospitals or insurance companies, and they're running huge companies. That MD is used with an MBA, and they're doing administrative allied health work. We have graduates who own multiple medical practices and are thriving. Some are using their MD to further their career in research, where they may have started and then the MD has helped push their career along. Some are now teachers and are studying, and there are all sorts of people that come to IUHS and appreciate the flexibility, but not all of them will practice in the US, and not all of them want to practice afterwards. And that's important to note, that you have more than one career path in medicine. It doesn't always mean that you're going to be facing patients in a clinical setting. Now we'll just quickly skim over the MD program. You can costs. You can scan the code there to head to our website and learn more about it. But just to let you know, we do have those monthly payment plans, which make this a lot more reasonable for you to get into, at $1,400 per month during the preclinical phase, or $825 per month during the clinical years. A lot of people find is the best way to manage these costs. At the bottom there, I have listed that the MD program payable to the school as a minimum is $59,500. The reason why that is a minimum is you might incur just a small fee here and there if you lose an ID card or something. We need to make you another one, for example, or retake an exam. But otherwise, that's a fraction of the cost of other schools. The only thing that's not quoted in that price are hospital fees. So when you're at clinical rotations, the hospitals determine their own fees, and we don't set them or include them in our tuition, and that's additional. We do say, as a rule of thumb, maybe just keep about $500 a week, you know, as a budget to sort of work with for that. So if anyone wants to add anything to that, you can, because you're in that mode. Otherwise, yeah, the only other thing I would add there is, if you don't have the prerequisites to enter MD and you're going to join us for the pre-med year, it's a minimum cost of $70,200. Now, included in your tuition are a lot of the resources, or most of them, that we've discussed, bringing that university to you via the distributed online campus system. So the technologies we talked about, like DXR Clinician and Lecturio, all of that is included in your tuition fee. Once you're an enrolled student and you have access to the campus, then you will log in and you'll have access to calendars that keep you on schedule, on time, for when assessments are due and things like that. You can schedule, meetings with your academic advisor or a professor. You have the video libraries so that if you've missed a lecture, you will come back and review. So yeah, everything is all there and included, and there shouldn't be any more additional expenses. Even textbooks are included, which are quite expensive for medicine, but we have them all there for you in a digital format. And if you're ready to apply to IUHS, the first step is the online application form. So you can scan the code there, head to our website, and just begin the process by uploading your documents and asking for letters of recommendation. You'll need 2 of those. The MD program and the BSMD both start in September and May. So it's been May 19th this year and September 15th. So you can apply right up until 2 weeks before the start of classes. And just to finally recap why you should choose IUHS over another medical school, we have the advantage of you not having to relocate for your studies for the preclinical years, so 2 years are at home. As you just saw on the previous slide, we're very affordable when you're comparing options to other medical schools. We have a huge global supportive team and world-class professors that are also teaching at other top-tier universities. The award-winning technology that delivers the university to you, and a very flexible schedule that's been mentioned by every single one of our speakers, I think, is one of the main reasons that they chose IUHS. And just to wrap up finally, I'll ask all of you, to answer maybe what was your biggest advantage of choosing IUHS over the traditional school? What was something, maybe Abhinav, what could you say was a huge advantage over a traditional setting for you?
Yeah, flexibility was number 1 for me. And then, as John mentioned earlier, like paying off the student loans, you're not graduating with like hundreds and thousands of dollars. I'm happy that I graduated with no loans. I paid off as I go through my school. I was able to work because I did my rotations, 3rd-year rotations at the same hospital where I was working. So yeah, flexibility and adaptability to student needs, I think, is another thing that IUHS is very well versed with. So I'm thankful for that.
Thank you. And maybe, John, you can answer this one. Now that you can look back in retrospect, what are some key factors that help someone succeed in medical school? Is there anything really that stands out that helps you get there at the end? And I know you did really well. I've seen your results. So, and you're a dad, and you worked, as you said, and you had a lot on your plate, and you did really well at med school. So
looking back, being able to, I would do school. In addition, I would do extras. I would wake up extra early and do school. Then I would go to work. While I was driving to work, I would do school. When I drove to lunch, I would do school. Like, I would listen to the classes again as I was driving, and I could fast forward through things I had already learned from that lecture, or I could go back and relearn it. And then when I came back from lunch, I worked. And then on my way home, I did more school. I reiterated the online classes because they're recorded and you can play them. So I used that. It gave me a lot of flexibility because I worked and I have a family. And then again, like, the biggest part where I'm at currently would be that I am a 1st-year resident, almost a 2nd-year resident, but I'm already being offered many jobs. And so for graduating this year, they're 3rd-year residents, and they are looking into owning their own practice. And that's one of the things I'm considering, and I'm looking at a practice right now. But the difference is they have over $200 and some thousand just in student loans, plus they want to buy a new house, plus they want to buy their own practice and start their own practice. So I've already been living in a house. I'm living in the same place I have because I didn't have to move for anything. I have all my medical school paid off, and so I have that much more capital that I can go ahead and start my business and start my own practice if that's something that I want to do. So does that help?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's just the key factor. You really hit the nail on the head. Is just reinforcing, relearning. It's a concept we use at IUHS as spaced repetition. Keep going, keep revising your work, and just master it. And that financial advice, that's a huge part of our mission as a school, to allow people to become doctors without the burden of debt, and that was our founding mission. I want to just move across, and thank you for that. Just to let you all know, we are wrapping up the session. Contact us. I'm sorry, we don't really have time for questions because we've gone over time. I think Luke will tell us we can't ask questions, but contact us, reach us, email us if there's anything you don't know, or scan the code and head to our website. We do have an admissions team that will help you, so just reach out. And as I mentioned earlier, head to our YouTube, watch Amir follow his journey on clinical rotations. It will make it so much clearer about what it's like to be a med student in the clinical phase of your program. Also, we update regularly if there are any events or intake dates and things like that. So follow us along on social. Thank you all for attending. Thank you all for sticking around. And thank you to all our speakers who shared their time and their knowledge and perspectives with us.
Great. Well, thank you very much, all of you as well. I do think we have some minutes left for questions, at least from my end we do. I hope you do as well, Wendy.
Yeah, go for it.
Then we can go through some questions. Maybe quick one just to mention for all the attendees is you saw the link popping up on the screen where you can apply. It's also available in the link section at the bottom. So if you want to find that button, and there it is. Thank you also for your poll questions, everyone. People watching live, but also from the recording. So we appreciate that. And let's go over to some questions because they might be useful for everybody. First of all, Dora had a question. Can I sit the exam in New Zealand?
Yes, we have a student in New Zealand right now. Yes, New Zealand, Australia, yes, all able to sit the licensing exams and practice in those countries. So yes, New Zealand, welcome.
Great. Good news for New Zealand. Next question. What are the credentials and is it recognized in which countries?
Okay, the list is long. Maybe the easiest thing would be to send an email to info@iuhs.edu telling us where you are at, and we can reply back that way.
Yeah, okay, here's the email on the screen. Awadi, I think it's been answered. How can I apply? So again, that link is there in the link section. So there you find the also explains what you need. Roxy has a question. Please advise if by studying online, how does the practical part work?
Practical part in which aspect? So maybe the preclinical phase. I'm not sure where we're heading here on this part, but maybe Roxy, if you type your specific question into an email as well, we'll be able to answer you. As we said, we use a virtual patient simulation software to simulate patient interactions during the preclinical phase. And we also encourage all our students to enter a mentorship program to learn clinical skills during the preclinical phase of the program, which is 20 hours a month, where they're shadowing a physician and learning things in a clinical setting and tying in all those classroom lessons into a clinical phase. So maybe that helps you with your answer. Abhinav is typing, so thank you for helping on that. Maybe we can move to the next question, Luke, while Abhinav's answering in the chat.
Yeah, okay, let's do that. Next question from Megan. I think to Mona, how do you manage 40 hours a week and do the medical school requirements? How many hours a week do you typically put in a week?
Well, it definitely takes a lot of time management skills, and it didn't happen overnight. This whole journey, it's exactly what it is a journey. And so, during the first blocks, it took some trial and error but eventually I was able to just work around my day, you know, even with the 9 to 5, giving myself time after work to relax, but then putting in the necessary hours after that. So yeah, it's very personal. It's very personalized.
Yeah, we like to say as a general rule, people should be, it's like another full-time job. It's like another 40 hours a week. But then some people, you know, are super fast in their methods and, you know, spend 25, you know, and then there are others that require more. So as Mona said, it's very personalized, but try and think of it as perhaps another full-time job. I think most of you would agree with that. I can nod if that's correct. But I know I sat on the other side of this because my husband's the doctor that did this, and I know what it's like to watch someone be very busy and study the program. Clinical rotation sites in Canada. I'll just answer that one quickly. Amir is experiencing this because he's from Canada. You're doing your core rotations. They have to be done in the US. Is that correct? And the elective rotations can be done in Canada, and there is a official process to follow for those once you get there. And a lot of this all gets explained to you at orientations at the beginning of the program. So there's nothing unclear about that now. But if you're Canadian, expect to do core rotations in the US. I'm just reading this question.
Yep. I'll go to the next question. Prima is asking, realistically, how difficult is it to find a hospital in Australia that will accept a student from the IUHS for clinical rotations? And also, how exactly does the IUHS assist with the process, both in securing the clinical placements and in finding a qualified mentor, since having one seems to be a key requirement?
Okay, as we mentioned, IUHS has a dedicated clinical director for Australia. The rotations worked a lot around with you to discover where you're at, where do you live, and then working on a relationship for that. Currently, we have had a recent graduate who did all of his rotations in South Australia. We have had someone who has done them in virtually all of them in Victoria. So it just depends on which state you are at. Both of those recent graduates have moved on into internships and are licensed and are moving along in their careers. But yeah, the clinical director will work with you. At the moment, I don't have an actual 100% dedicated affiliated hospital that I can say you can go to here, because that is a process that we are currently working on for all of our Australian students. But to say how difficult is it, it's you know, we've managed to do it. We managed to do it for everyone, and we have students in the program now that are doing rotations. So difficult, no. But can I give you a linear answer to say you'll do them all in this one site? Today, I don't have that type of an answer. But rest assured, you're supported. We're working on it, and we're continually growing, and we're continually working on our sites and affiliations. So the mentors as well. The mentors, just so you know, as a general rule, during that preclinical phase, is something that you might want to work on yourself. You might want to go and find a local physician in your community. It could even be your own family physician, and you ask them personally yourself, can I please shadow you? Can I please learn? I'm a medical student. And you'll be surprised that people that you approach and knock on doors, which a lot of our Australian students have done, are welcomed with open arms and are actually enjoying the program. So Prima Rose, if you reach out to me on email, marketing@iuhs.edu, I will reply and put you in touch with some Australians who can give you their personal experience. And you can also speak to the clinical director for Australia as well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Those were all the questions we've received. I already see some thumbs up and reactions, so I guess that's taking care of that. Great. And I saw some thank yous in the chat. Well, if no further questions, we'll slowly round off the session. I think we've already heard some great insights and reasons why to join this program. So if you're enthusiastic, do check out the website, but it all means also the link that you find in the link section where you can even apply. So I'm see another thank you, see if there's anything else, a question. The recording, I see actually that, so we are sending the recording to everyone. So if you joined late or just saw a part and you want to share it or watch it again, we will be sharing it right away after this session. So that's where you can see that. Good. Thank you once again. And well, from my side, bye-bye. Maybe last word from you, Wendy?
Yeah, thank you all so much. And thanks for all your support, Luke, and everyone for joining and listening. And I hope you can all join us at IUHS soon.
Thank you, everybody. And I'm going to actually put a last poll because I like to see how we did. You can now grade us. So on the screen, you should see the poll. Let us know your answer and your feedback. And that's it for now then. Thank you and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are.
Bye.
Bye-bye.